දැන් මාස 25ක ස්ථාවර තැන්පතු සඳහා 10.75ක අසම සම පොලියක් LB යසෙසුරු.
Tonight, on First at 9 this Monday, the 2nd of February 2026. Breaching borders. Minister of Fisheries strongly condemns attacks against Sri Lanka fishermen by the Indian Coast Guard. Investigation launched after informing Indian High Commissioner of the incident. Allegations. Suspended Deputy Secretary General of Parliament files complaint alleging multiple acts of corruption by the Speaker. Remanded. Trincomalee Court extends remand of Venerable Balangoda Kasapathera and 9 others until February 9. Restrictions. Opposition criticizes government's move to encourage children to use social media. Private members' motion to be presented to Parliament soon on social media restriction for children.
Kalin baby soap rupial 90කට. Kalin baby podi හැමෝටමයි.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9 on Derana News Channel, Sri Lanka's most trusted news source. I'm Devindi Nayakara joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. We begin with your top story. School development officers gathered near the Presidential Secretariat today in protest of the government's failure to grant them a meeting with the President to discuss their concerns. The Sri Lanka School Development Officers Association were promised a meeting with the President at 6 p.m. tomorrow, but the association demanded that the meeting be held today itself. Meanwhile, the hunger strike launched by school development officers continued for the 8th consecutive day today. The hunger strike initiated by the Sri Lanka School Development Officers Association in front of the Presidential Secretariat entered its 8th consecutive day today. School development officers are demanding immediate integration into the teaching service, having served in schools for over 7 years. 6 of the 7 demonstrators who took part in the hunger strike were hospitalized on several occasions due to deteriorating health. However, an individual who entered the hunger strike yesterday is continuing the week-long effort. Leader of Sarvajana Balaya parliamentarian Dilip Jayavira and several other MPs visited the protest site this morning.
Those who follow leftist ideology expect the government to be sensitive to issues of the public after they assume power. This was a promise made through their election campaign. Their insensitive comments portray their ignorance towards issues of the public. The Sarvajana Balaya will support development officers till the end of this endeavour. We will support them regardless of how they decide to proceed. Apart from development officers, doctors are also facing issues today. The entire country is suffering. This also includes the Buddhist clergy. We foresee an unfortunate end to these developments.
Thereafter, a delegation led by former parliamentarian Premnath C. Dolawatto also visited the site.
We condemn the government for making insensitive comments about protesters. The government must remember that they claim power by purporting to be familiar with the blood, sweat and tears shed by trade unionists. We urge the government to stop being so arrogant.
Last Friday, Director General of Public Relations at the Presidential Secretariat D. Gamage stated that school development officers would be provided with an opportunity to meet the President at 6 p.m. tomorrow. However, the development officers continued the hunger strike, demanding that the meeting be called today. After being denied a meeting today, the association's representatives announced a decision to stage a protest near the Presidential Secretariat this morning. Accordingly, school development officers arrived near the Presidential Secretariat premises during the early hours of today. Secretary Viraj Manaranga noted that representatives of the association were met with several obstacles.
අධිවේගී මාර්ගය හරහා
Many highway buses were stopped. What is the reason behind this move? The buses were stopped for failing to abide by seat belt regulations. Stopping our struggle through such petty moves will remain a dream.
ඒක දවල් දකින සිහිනයක් විතරයි.
However, school development officers who arrived at Colombo Fort marched towards the presidential secretariat and commenced demonstrations.
Against this backdrop, opposition leader Sajid Premadasa urged the government to take immediate action in view of addressing concerns of school development officers.
වර්තමාන රජය විපක්ෂයේ ඉන්නකොට
The current government vowed to integrate development officers to the teaching service back when they were seated in the opposition. However, ministers representing the government now stated that this integration will only be possible through competition exams, noting that hunger strikes are pointless. I would like to question these ministers on why they did not clearly mention this during elections. We suggest that they should take a decision without taking up too much time.
ස්ථිර පත්වීම් ටික ගුරු සේවාවේ ලබා දෙන්න.
Meanwhile, Minister of Transport, Highways and Urban Development Bimal Ratnayaka noted that school development officers can only be integrated into the teaching service through a competitive examination.
අපේ රටේ ගුරුවරු
Teachers were recruited for service unjustly in the past. There's a teacher service constitution. Teachers are recruited through a competitive exam pursuant to that constitution. The competitive exam is a gazetted law within that constitution. These legislative instruments cannot be changed arbitrarily.
ඇමතිවරයෙක්ට ඕන මොන පළියට වෙනස් කරන්න බෑ.
Central Finance ගියොත් අඩුව තමා.
Samagijana Balawege MP Harshana Rajakaruna claims that a private member's motion will be presented to Parliament this week, proposing a bill to restrict social media use for children in Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, leader of Pivituruhela Urume Udayagammanpila claims the government is encouraging grade 1 students to use social media despite many Western countries implementing measures on the contrary.
එකේ පන්තියේ පාඩම් වල වෙබ් සම්බන්ධී 42ක් තියෙනවලු.
The grade 1 module contains 42 web links. However, in Western countries, social media use is restricted for children under the age of 16. Our government is encouraging grade 1 students to use social media. Therefore, we ask the parents who protest in the streets calling for the immediate implementation of education reforms, should they entrust these reforms to a government that has no understanding of technological limitations. This is an attempt to jeopardize the future of our children. The government must either refrain from implementing these reforms until the end of its tenure or ensure that the reforms are introduced under the supervision of an all-party committee. If they continue to pursue these reforms, I must express my disappointment and remind the public that the damage caused by these education reforms could surpass the harm inflicted during the 2 JVP insurrections.
අධ්‍යාපන ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ හරහා වෙනවායි කියන එක කනගාටු වුණා සිහිපත් කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
දැන් මේ වෙනකොටත් රටවල් ගණනාවක් දරුවන්ට
Many countries have implemented measures to restrict social media use among children to mitigate its negative effects. However, our country has not yet introduced similar legislation. As a responsible opposition, we plan to submit a private member's motion to Parliament this week addressing this issue.
පෞද්ගලික මන්ත්‍රී යෝජනාවක් මේ පිළිබඳව.
Meanwhile, the Frontline Socialist Party conducted a program in Polonnaruwa opposing the new education reforms.
මේ පවතින අධ්‍යාපනය වෙනස් වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ දෙකක් නෑ. හැබැයි ඒකට මුවා වෙලා මේ ගේන්න හදන්නේ මොකද්ද? එක වසරේ දරුවන්ට පවා ස්මාර්ට් ජංගම දුරකථන වලින් අධ්‍යාපනය ගේන්න හදන මේ ක්‍රියාවලිය අවසන් වෙන්නේ මහා ව්‍යසනයකින්.
Minister of Education, Prime Minister Dr. Harani Amarasuriya pledges to extend the assistance required to develop early childhood education in Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister made these remarks during an event to distribute new preschool books for the Western Province today.
Sets of preschool books enhanced to support effective administration and teaching activities in preschools across the Western Province in line with the new curriculum reforms were distributed today under the patronage of Prime Minister Dr. Harani Amarasuriya. This initiative aims to establish a strong foundation for preschools education and aligns with the national school education standards.
අපේ රටේ ඒ පරිවර්තනීය වෙනසක් කරන්න
As a government that recognizes the central role of human resource development in driving national transformation, we have identified early childhood education as a critical priority. At the same time, we acknowledge that existing practices have revealed several challenges that must be addressed. Our objective is to bring stability and coherence to this system. While this initiative marks a positive beginning, it is only the first step of a a broader journey. We remain firmly committed to implementing a common preschool curriculum from next year. In parallel, we will ensure the provision of comprehensive teacher training while introducing new pathways for newly recruited educators to deliver high-quality education to our children. Preschool education occupies a vital position within our new education reforms and serves as a key gateway to primary education. Recognizing its significance, the government remains steadfast in its commitment to strengthening and developing this sector.
අපි ඉදිරියට කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Minister of Fisheries, Aquatic and Marine Resources Ramalingam Chandrasekhar strongly condemned attacks against Sri Lanka fishermen by officers of the Indian Coast Guard within Sri Lanka's territorial waters. Speaking to the media, the minister stated that steps have been taken to inform the Indian High Commissioner of the incident.
3 boats carrying 18 fishermen departed from the Winnapur Vellamankara Fisheries Harbour on December 3rd for fishing. While returning, 9 fishermen from 2 boats, Dinitidua and Dinitidua 1, were brutally attacked on January 29th within Sri Lankan territorial waters. The Navy intervened and admitted 4 severely injured fishermen to the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital in Galle on January 31st. 8 more fishermen from the attacked vessels were brought to the Winnapur Vellamankara Fisheries Harbour yesterday afternoon, 5 of whom were immediately admitted to the Maravilla Base Hospital.
අපේ දීවර යාත්‍රා පහළ දීම ලක්ුණේ මේ ලංකාවේ මේ බෝඩරේ ඇතුල් වෙන තැන. එතකොට මේ බෝඩරේට ඇතුල් වෙලා 77ක් වගේ ලංකා ඇතුළෙන් තමයි පහළ දී සිද්ධලා තියෙන්නේ. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මේ පේනවා.
The All Ceylon Multi-Day Fishing Vessel Owners Association has alleged that Indian Coast Guard officers were responsible for the attack.
ඒ නිසා අපි ඒ ගැන විශේෂයෙන්ම හොයා බලන්න කියලා අපේ
We urge our ministers to address this matter urgently and see what the fishermen endure without issuing baseless statements. We also request the Navy to conduct a thorough investigation. What were the Navy's action while India's ships entered our waters and attacked our fishermen? Another vessel has also been attacked and 2 fishermen on that boat suffered serious injuries.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Fisheries, Aquatic and Marine Resources, Ratna Gamage, visited the hospital today to inquire into the well-being of the fishermen admitted to the Karapitiya Hospital.
අපිට බෝට් එක යනකොට බෝට් එක ඉස්සරහට ලොකු නැව ආවා. නැව ඇවිල්ලා අපේ හරහාට නැව දාලා නතර කරන්න කියලා පෙරා ගැව්වා. අපි ළඟට එනකොට තමයි දැක්කේ පොඩි බෝට් වල මේ ඉන්දියන් කොඩිය ගහලා තියෙනවා. ඒ ඉන්දියන් කොඩිය ගහලා තියෙන දැකලා අපි බැලුවා ඉතින් කවදාකවත් ලංකාවේ මේ සීමාවේ ඉන්දියන් බෝට් එකක් තියෙන විදියක් නැහැ. අපිත් එක්ක සිංහලෙන් කතා කරන කෙනෙකුත් හිටියා නැවේ. උඹලා දැස් ගන්නවා නේද? කුඩු කියනවා නේ උඹලා ගාව කියලා ඇහුවා. අදකෝ අපි ගාවේ කිසිම දෙයක් නැහැ සර් නෙමෙයි කියලා. ඒක ඉවර ඇහුවේ නැහැ. ආයෙ වෙලා අපි කියනවා සැටලයිට් ෆෝන් එකක් තියනවා කියලා. අපි ගාවන් කිසිම දෙයක් නැහැ සර්. අපිට මේ හින්දි තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. එයාලා අපිට පහර දෙන්න ගත්තා. නැහැ කියලාම තමයි අපි කිව්වේ. ස්කීපර් අරගත්තා ලාන්ච් එකට. කට උත්තර අරගෙන එයාට වෙනම පහර දෙලා තිබ්බා ලාන්ච් එකේ. ආව වෙනම වීරූම් එකක් අස්සර අරගෙන 7-8 දෙනෙක් අතු ගාලා මට කරගෙන මට ගැහුවා.
In addition to the 2 targeted fishing vessels, 6 fishermen from another fishing vessel have not yet returned. A Navy ship has been dispatched to locate and bring them back, according to Navy spokesperson Commander Buddhika Sampath. The subject minister and deputy minister addressed the media in this regard.
The attack occurred near the Maldives along the Sri Lanka-India border. Fishermen report that the attack took place in Sri Lankan waters. Allegations about the perpetrators vary. We have instructed the Navy and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to conduct an investigation and provide a report on whether the attack was carried out by a local team or a foreign team or an official or non-official entity. The fishermen were brutally attacked and it have been carried out by the Indian Coast Guard. We have already taken measures including formally notifying the Indian High Commissioner in writing as well. As Minister of Fisheries, I strongly oppose this action by the Indian Coastal Guard.
Suspended Deputy Secretary General of Parliament Chaminda Kularatne filed a complaint with the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption this afternoon. Through the complaint, he alleged that the Speaker of Parliament, Dr. Jagat Vikram Ratne, had engaged in multiple acts of corruption.
Suspended Deputy Secretary General of Parliament Chaminda Kularatne filed a complaint with the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption this afternoon. He alleged that Speaker Dr. Jagat Wickramaratne had engaged in multiple acts of corruption. Deputy Secretary General and Chief of Staff of Parliament Chaminda Kularatne has been suspended since January 23rd. The suspension followed a decision by the Parliamentary Staff Advisory Committee. Allegations against Kularatne involved providing false information regarding his service record. Against this backdrop, he filed a complaint with the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, accusing Speaker Dr. Jagat Wickramaratne of corruption. In his complaint, Kularatne alleged that the Speaker used an official vehicle beyond his entitlement, illegally received 2 fuel allowances, and utilized 2 official residences improperly.
The complaint is not levelled against the government. My client was suspended from office due to a personal dispute with the Speaker of Parliament. We have filed a complaint over that incident as well as several other acts of corruption committed by the Speaker. We expect an impartial investigation to be conducted in this regard.
පෞද්ගලික මට්ටමින් සිදු කරන ලද ක්‍රියාකාරකම් සම්බන්ධව ඒ කියන්නේ ආණ්ඩුවේ ක්‍රියාකාරීත්වයෙන් පරිබාහිර දෙයක්. එතුමා රාජකාරී මට්ටමේ ඉන්න වෙලාවේ කරපු දෙයක් ඒකයි. ඒකත් ඉදිරියේදී දැනුම් දෙයි. මොකද මේ වෙලාවේ අපි ඒක දැනුම් දෙන එක සුදුසු නැහැ කියන එක තමයි මගේ මතය. මෙතුමාගේ වැඩසටහන මේ පෞද්ගලික කාරණයක් කියලා කියනවා මොකක්ද ඒ කියන්නේ? ඒක පෞද්ගලික කාරණාවක් දුරදිග යාමේ ප්‍රතිඵලයක් විදියට තමයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක සම්බන්ධවත් ඉදිරියේදී අනාවරණය වෙන්නේ.
The Government Medical Officers Association intensified its trade union action due to unaddressed demands disrupting hospital services nationwide, including 164 specialist units. Meanwhile, 50 doctors at the National Eye Hospital have agreed to transfers effective from today until February 6th in response to a statement made by the Minister of Health in this regard.
The Government Medical Officers Association decided to intensify its ongoing trade union action today following a lack of response from authorities regarding several of its key demands. The industrial action has disrupted hospital services over the past several days, with many services again affected today. 5 measures were initially implemented as part of the trade union action. Accordingly, issuance of prescriptions and recommendations for patients to obtain medicines and medical equipment from external sources unavailable within state hospitals was suspended. Similarly, the issuance of recommendations for patients to undergo laboratory tests externally when they are unavailable within the hospital was suspended. Doctors withdrew from voluntary participation in health camps and clinics organized by political groups. The assigning of doctors to new hospital wards and units opened within the hospital system without the officially approved number of medical officers was suspended. Doctors withdrew from examining patients in the absence of adequate facilities and support staff required to ensure the safety and privacy of patients. Specialist services were solely limited to the hospital to which they are officially attached, as doctors withdrew from covering duties for services in other hospitals that lack specialist doctors. A further industrial action was initiated today, escalating the union action. Accordingly, medical specialists affiliated with the GMOA will suspend services in hospitals other than their primary attachment hospitals starting today.
ලංකාවේ විශේෂඥ වෛද්‍යකගේ 164
A total of 164 medical specialist units will be affected, significantly impacting anesthetic care and disrupting services in surgery and ICU units. Specialist units treating gynecological conditions will also be affected, and radiology services are being disrupted. The GMOA questions the minister's handling of this sensitive ministry and urges immediate discussions. The association is ready to engage with the authorities.
දැන් හරි මේ සාකච්ඡා මේසට එන්න රජයේ වෛද්‍යධාරීන්ගේ සංගමය දැන්ටත් සූදානම්.
However, the Association of Medical Specialists confirmed yesterday that it will not participate in the ongoing trade union action by the Government Medical Officers Association. Against this backdrop, medical specialists affiliated with the GMOA stated that the government has not taken any positive steps regarding coverage duties and that necessary action must be taken to resolve this issue. Meanwhile, Dr. Prasad Kolamage, Executive Committee member of the Government Medical Officers Association, stated that 50 doctors at the National Eye Hospital have agreed to transfers effective from today until February 6 in response to a statement made by the Minister of Health regarding these matters.
Welcome back. The Trincomalee Magistrates Court today ordered the further remand of Venerable Balangoda Kassapathera and 9 other suspects who were remanded in custody in connection with the Trincomalee Buddha statue incident until February 9th. The order was issued when the relevant case was recalled today.
Legal proceedings related to the complaint filed by the Department of Coast Conservation and Coastal Resource Management alleging unauthorized construction and enshrinement of Buddha statue within the Trincomalee Town Coastal Protection Zone were taken up again before Trincomalee Chief Magistrate M.S.M. Samsudeen. The 10 suspects, including 4 monks who were remanded in custody, were produced before court. The group includes the chief incumbent of Sri Sambuddha Jayanti Bodhivardhana Vihara on Fort Road, Trincomalee, Venerable Kalyana Vansatissa, Venerable Balangoda Kassapathera, Venerable Sukita Vansatissa, and Venerable Nandathera. Counsel for the defence Mahesh Kotawala informed court that although an investigation had previously been ordered into an alleged police assault on one of the Theras, the senior superintendent of police involved had objected to appearing in court today. He further requested amendments to the charges filed by police related to 8 offences, as the charges did not apply equally to all suspects. The defence also requested the magistrate to take note of a writ petition currently being considered by the Court of Appeal in connection with the incident, with an order expected to be issued tomorrow. After considering the submissions, the magistrate ordered that the 10 suspects, including the 4 monks, be further remanded until February 9.
A
bail application for the suspects is currently being considered before the Colombo Court of Appeal, with decision expected tomorrow. We inform the magistrate that if bail is granted by the Court of Appeal, the suspects should be released through a court motion, allowing them to be bailed by tomorrow evening.
Meanwhile, relatives of the suspects staged a protest in front of the court during proceedings.
Leader of the National Freedom Front, Vimal Veeravansa, accuses the government, already facing criticism over the procurement of substandard coal, of preparing to engage in further malpractice through emergency coal purchases. With that, here's a look at more thoughts shared in the political arena.
In previous years, the coal required for this period would already been imported, with tenders customarily called in April. However, last year the tender process was deliberately delayed until August. As a result of loopholes intentionally created by the government, a corrupt Indian coal company was allowed to enter the procurement process. It has since been revealed that all 3 coal shipments received to date have failed to meet the required quality standards. Irregularities were also reported even in smaller scale coal tenders. Now the government is moving towards emergency procurement, a decision that will inevitably open the door to further large-scale corruption. The CEB is seeking approval to increase electricity tariffs by 20% in the next quarter. These are the same individuals who once promised to eradicate corruption. The reality before us today tells a very different story. The government has now begun to defend the coal suppliers. Despite having a long-term procurement mechanism in place, it has opted to call for a spot tender. One must question the rationale behind this decision. Such actions reflect subtle, yes deliberate avenues for corruption. The irregularities surrounding the coal tender have caused significant difficulties for the government and have now escalated into what can only be described as large-scale financial plunder. In this process, corruption has been decentralized. Those responsible remain at large, while the government focuses its intention on pursuing alleged offenders from the past. At present, doctors are on strike, unemployed graduates have taken to the street, and school development officers are engaged in prolonged hunger strikes, requesting their integration into the teaching service. There are a number of such issues at the moment. Such widespread unrest and confusion are usually seen when a government is nearing its end. Yet this situation has arisen barely a year into the administration's term. Some employees were recruited to state services recently. However, they don't stay for too long. Some go abroad. This is mainly because of the minimum privileges provided for the state workers. Some of those that have been recruited remain anxious about their transfers. Some hesitate to accept positions in rural areas. Increasingly, personal concerns are taking precedence over service to the state. It is important that the public clearly understands the intentions and actions of the government in this regard.
The 4th Magistrates Court today ordered the Criminal Investigation Department to arrest and produce Shamindra Rajapaksha, son of former Speaker Chamal Rajapaksa, before the court in connection with alleged irregularities in the Airbus deal in 2013. The order followed the CID's submission to court that Shamindra Rajapaksa will be named as the third suspect in the case.
Former Sri Lankan Airlines CEO Kapila Chandrasena and his wife Trincomalee Vijayanayake were accused of accepting a $2 million bribe linked to an irregular financial transaction between Airbus and Sri Lankan Airlines in 2013 during the purchase of 6 A330 and A350 aircraft. The couple were named as suspects, arrested and produced before the Fort Magistrates Court and later released on bail. The Criminal Investigation Department today named Shamindra Rajapaksa, son of former Speaker Chamal Rajapaksa, as the third suspect in the case. The Fort Magistrates Court ordered the CID to arrest and produce him before the court. Magistrate Isurunetti Kumara further directed the CID to seek a red warrant as the suspect is currently overseas.
Welcome back to First at 9. Now, gold prices in Sri Lanka have reduced considerably today, with the price of a 24-carat gold sovereign dropping by 12,000 rupees in line with the reduction in the global market. Accordingly, a 24-carat gold sovereign is priced at 368,000 rupees, while the price of a 22-carat gold sovereign stands at 338,600 rupees. Meanwhile, global gold prices have reduced significantly, with the price of an ounce of gold hovering around $4,687, marking a reduction of approximately $200 compared to last Friday. The Colombo Bourse closed in negative territory today as a result of price losses in counters such as Selenco Holdings, Colombo Dockyard and Melstar Corp. The benchmark all-share price index declined 0.55% to close at 23,681.68, while the more liquid S&P Sri Lanka 20 also decreased by 0.66% to end the day at 6,597.2. Market turnover was 5.173 billion rupees. The capital goods sector was the highest contributor to the market turnover, followed by the diversified financial sector. Foreigners closed as net sellers, offloading shares worth 453 million rupees. Up next, we have Mushraf Ibrahim from Capital Alliance in our next segment, Markets in View.
The Sri Lankan stock market recorded a marginally softer performance during the week ended 30th January 2026. The all-share price index closed the week at 23,812.31 points, easing 0.6% week-on-week from 23,956.51 points in the previous week. Similarly, the S&P SL20 index edged down to 6,641.15 points compared to 6,649.50 points last week. Market activity moderated week-on-week basis, with total equity turnover declining to LKR 33.76 billion, down 12.3% from LKR 38.49 billion in the prior week. Average daily turnover stood at approximately LKR 6.8 billion, reflecting more normalized trading conditions followed by elevated activity levels observed early in the market.
That's all for tonight from First at 9. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.